just enough to keep him and his men alive for about a month, when he would be forced to beg from the Arabs. The Doctor further stated that when Speke gave the altitude of the Tanganika at only 1,800 feet above the sea, Speke must have fallen into that error by a frequent writing of the Anno Domini, a mere slip of the pen, for the altitude, as he makes it out, is 2,800 feet by boiling point, and a little over 3,000 feet by barometer. The Doctor's complaints were many because slaves were sent to him in charge of goods, after he had so often implored the people at Zanzibar to send him free men. A very little effort on the part of those entrusted with the dispatch of supplies to him might have enabled them to procure good and faithful freemen, but if they contented themselves, upon the receipt of the letter from Dr. Livingstone, with sending to Ludha Dunjee for men, it is no longer a matter of wonder that dishonest and incapable slaves were sent forward. It is no new fact that the Doctor has discovered, when he states that a negro freeman is 100 times more capable and trustworthy than a slave. Centuries ago, Eumaeus, the herdsman, said to Ulysses, "Jove fixed it certain that whatever day makes man a slave takes half his worth away." We passed several happy days at Ujiji, and it was time we were now preparing for our cruise on the Tanganika. Livingstone was improving every day under the different diet which my cook furnished him. I could give him no such suppers as that which Jupiter and Mercury received at the cottage of Bacchus and Philemon. We had no berries of chaste Minerva, pickled cherries, endive, radishes, dried figs, dates, fragrant apples, and grapes; but we had cheese, and butter which I had made myself, new laid eggs, chickens, roast mutton, fish from the lake, rich curds and cream, wine from the Guinea palm, egg plants, cucumbers, sweet potatoes, pea nuts, and beans, white honey from Ukaranga, luscious singwe, a plum like fruit from the forest of Ujiji, and corn scones and dampers, in place of wheaten bread. During the noontide heats we sat under our verandah discussing our various projects, and in the early morning and evening we sought the shores of the lake, promenading up and down the beach to breathe the cool breezes which ruffled the surface of the water and rolled the unquiet surf far up on the smooth and whitened shore. It was the dry season, and we had most lovely weather. The temperature never was over 80 degrees in the shade. The market place overlooking the broad silver water afforded us amusement and instruction. Representatives of most of the tribes dwelling near the lake were daily found there. There were the agricultural and pastoral Wajiji, with their flocks and herds; there were the fishermen from Ukaranga and Kaoli, from beyond Bangui, and even from Urundi, with their white bait, which they called dogra, the silurus, the perch, and other fish. There were the palm oil merchants, principally from Ujiji and Urundi, with great 5-gallon pots full of reddish oil, of the consistency of butter. There were the salt merchants from the salt plains of Uvinza and Uha. There were the ivory merchants from Uvira and Usowa. There were the canoe makers from Ugoma and Urundi. There were the cheap jack peddlers from Zanzibar selling flimsy prints, and brokers exchanging blue matunda beads for sami sami, and sungomazi and sofi. The sofi beads are like pieces of thick clay pipe stem about half an inch long, and are in great demand here. Here were found Waguhha, Wamanyuema, Wagoma, Wavira, Wasiji, Warundi, Wajiji, Waha, Wavinza, Wazawa, Wangwena, Wakawendi, Arabs, and Wazawahili, engaged in noisy chaffer and barter. Bareheaded and almost bare-bodied, the youths make love to dark-skinned and woolly-headed Felicis, who knew not how to blush at the ardent gaze of love, as their white sisters. Old matrons gossiped as the old women do everywhere. The children played and laughed and struggled as children of our own lands; and the old men, leaning on their spears or bows, were just as garrulous in the Palace de Ujiji as aged elders in other climes. Chapter 12 Part 4